Well, hello everyone, and welcome to and/or welcome back to Gamsing County, my city Skylines 2 build that's set somewhere in the Great Lakes region of Minnesota, and is taking some inspiration from the city of Duluth, Minnesota. As always, I'm your host and creator, Legio, and if you like what you see, well, you know what to do down below. And today we are going to get the concept of our rail lines down, and then I'm going to spend way too much time building out our version of Union Station. Yeah, that's right, I'm delaying building the downtown yet again. The grid that I placed down in the very first episode will once again remain empty. And I think there's a good reason for that. I really want to have the primary services for the map down, and I want to build around them instead of through them, if that makes sense. I didn't want to build neighborhoods only to displace the families later. They don't deserve that. But the first thing I put down here is the rail yard, because without it we get no trains to use our soon-to-be amazing rail lines. And I did have a lot of fun building this rail yard out. When I was flying around Google Earth, I found one rail yard that had this large curve that looped around the facility, and I thought it looked pretty cool, so I just kind of copied it. Zero regrets, it looks dope. And then building off of that, I'll start connecting up each of the lines for the rail yard, trying to make sure each line has reasonable access to the other lines so that trains have several options of where to go. And then after I get all that connected up, I'll start sketching out the lines from the rail yard. All the lines will undoubtedly get changed as the city grows and as areas get filled out. So I try to leave a little bit of wiggle room for future growth. I do have a semblance of a plan in mind, a vague concept if you will. A plan so wonderful even my cat would approve. Actually, no, he wouldn't. He would not approve. He's an asshole. He also hates trains. So before I started this project, well, before I start any project, I do what I always do and what I'm pretty sure each and every one of you do, and that's take a little stroll through the PDX mod page. And while I was on that little stroll, I found this rail infrastructure pack by Tygon, and that pack proved to be awesome for this build. It actually inspired me to build my rail lines an episode early. This episode was supposed to be the next episode, if that makes sense. But finding that pack kind of inspired me to do it now instead of later. Primarily because I wanted to play with my new toy. But if you do plan on having heavy train usage in your cities, I highly recommend this mod. It adds a few more stations and the models themselves look awesome. You're going to see one of those models later on in the episode. But most importantly, it adds these non-electrified rail lines. And if you're doing a North American build, primarily in the US, you're going to want that. Because the US doesn't really use electrified trains. We primarily run on fossil fuels. Because screw the environment. What's it ever done for us, am I right? But yeah, that pack's awesome. I highly suggest going and get it. But now you're seeing me struggle with putting these rail lines down. I'm redrawing this because I didn't necessarily like the way the rail was coming in. I wanted the line on the other side of the highway. And doing this was a challenge because the topography of this map consistently and regularly gave me the middle finger and screwed up all my plans. I had to constantly redraw these lines because of the shifting elevation. The terrain looks a little softer than it used to. I softened a lot of it out. And I had to reload my save a couple times because it just didn't look right. Because while the game will allow for these steep gradients and these crazy turns, in reality you just wouldn't have that because the trains would fall off the rails or they roll backwards. And I remember when I was younger, my friend's dad worked for Union Pacific, and he would go on and on about how rail lines had to be set. He was very specific with it. And I did what I could in this build to avoid conflicts with the road, because he said rails should not conflict with the road if at all possible because of scheduling and money and safety. So I always try to abide by that rule. It's always in the back of my head. Anyways, now we begin work on the whole reason you clicked on this episode. The thumbnail is now on screen. I'm now working on our version of Union Station for Gamsing County. And it's not your typical Union Station. It's not very grand. It's not very Union Station-y. But that's getting chalked up to the lack of assets on City Skylines 2 right now. And you know what? It's going to be okay because I don't need a big grand train station for Gamsing County. It's not a major metropolitan area. It's going to have a feel of a metropolitan to a little bit, but it's not going to be huge. I don't know how big the city will be, but it can't be very big because of the topography I complained a lot about earlier in the episode. So the station itself isn't going to be very big, but it's going to serve us just fine. And it also saved me untold hours of abusing Move It and the props in the game. Because the asset itself looks really good. It looks fine as it is. And instead of fussing over the lack of assets on this one and adding a whole bunch of detail to it, I opted to detail around the asset and make it look grander than what it is. And you're seeing me do that now. Yeah, and it looks good. But don't get me wrong, I am dying to get the custom assets similar to what we had in CS1, but we just aren't there yet, so I'm going to do my best to try to polish up this turd and make it look good. Nah, that's not fair. This is actually a really good asset. This is not a turd. It's just kind of turdy that we don't have custom assets yet, and it's been a year. Oh well, moving on. Anyways, I didn't want to put the train station on that main road there, primarily because of traffic, because I've seen a lot of traffic jams happen, so I gave it some separation. Also, I get tired of seeing every single major asset sit on the road itself. A lot of those assets would be sitting off of the road. There'd be parking lots in the middle, or drives, or something leading up to it instead of it just sitting right there. So what I did is I used some of the networks I stole off of Road Builder, and I used them to create the separation by building out some custom parking lots. And while I was doing this build, I did later find a better option. It was after I built that custom lot you saw me build earlier. So I built another lot or two that will look way better. And you know, I found a lot of great roads on the Road Builder mod. The community there is awesome. The Road Builder mod is just fantastic. Not only can I create custom roads that I want, but I really don't even have to do that anymore. The community has done all the work for me. Because if you go on there and you click the download button on the Road Builder mod, there's dozens, if not hundreds, of roads on there already from people who know more what they're doing than me. Like, they're way better. They came out with roads I would have never thought of. So that's awesome. You guys are awesome for doing that. You made my life a lot easier. And I think that's going to be great going forward. We need to keep that, because later on when we can make custom assets and put them on PDX, I think that's just going to save our asset subscriptions that you have to download. Because in CS1, a lot of my custom assets were networks, and that just kind of bogged it down. It was all these roads that could have been trimmed and slimmed down if we had this. Like, I get, we didn't even have the concept of it. We didn't even have the Unicorn's Whisper of this mod in CS1. But I think going forward, that's going to be great. It's going to save us all a lot of time. It's just a great mod. I'm gushing. Anyways, besides the parking lots, I also put the 2 tall mixed commercial use buildings you see attached to my station. And I actually did that to imitate a little bit of Duluth's main train station. I couldn't find any assets that matched the aesthetic of those buildings, so I more or less kept the concept and changed the aesthetic itself, and I like the look of those buildings, and they connect pretty well. And I end up really liking what comes out of it anyways. It's a unique little centerpiece of the city. It's going to be sitting in the middle of downtown. There's going to be a lot going on around it, and it's going to add to the skyline too. I like it, and if you don't, well, you can hit the thumbs down button, though I'd rather you didn't do that. I don't know, it's engagement. Engagement helps anyway. Does the thumb down button even mean anything anymore? Like, I don't think it really means anything anymore. It still gives you the engagement. Whatever, moving on. And yeah, now comes a part of the episode where I go a little crazy with detail, and I experiment a lot with the surfaces and the props and also the trees to make this area shine a little bit. I find out later they're like, I didn't realize it. I had it the whole time. I just didn't realize what it was. There's a surface I had that can create stains and stuff like that, and I can draw it out instead of plopping a whole bunch of decals. So the next parking lot or two I built, I use that instead. And it looks better than what I did, but I was already down the metaphorical rabbit hole by the time I realized that. That was me not knowing what I had. And now I'm just going to go crazy with the detail work on this building. I found all these ads and advertisements, so I just slapped them wherever I could really make them fit. I just went crazy with the marketing because this is capitalism at its finest. But while I waste my life detailing this fictional train station, I'd like to go ahead and read just a few of the comments that we got in our last episode, because it's something I always do, and I think my super fans enjoy it. So let's go ahead and get right into those. Alrighty, so the first comment we're going to look at here is someone who posts quite regularly, so I'll always give them their shout out, and that's Mr. AssetsImporter. And this is in reference to the last episode. He says it was another fantastic build. And I don't know about fantastic. I'd say aggressively average was that build. I wasn't disappointed with it, but it could be better. It's just how it is. But he goes on to say he was baffled that he didn't know all that stuff about the tribe native to his region. In that episode, I did a quick little history lesson on the Anarchy Bay, also known as the Ojibwe tribe. And yeah, that's actually not too uncommon. Don't feel bad about that, sir. The American school system does no favors to Native American history. They kind of treat them all as one people, which is really crazy to think about when you think about it, because you'd never do that with European history. You'd always distinguish the French, the English, the Italians, the Dutch, Germans. You'd always distinguish between all those people, and that's exactly how it would be here. You'd have the Sioux, the Blackfoot, the Potawatomi, the Ojibwe, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Mohawk. You know, you'd have all these different tribes, and that's how it should be treated. They're their own and distinct native countries, essentially. They're their own distinct people. But here in America, we just kind of gloss over that history and move on with warfare and stuff like that, which I'm not in the education system. I don't have logic or reasoning, but it is difficult to find the information if you're not looking for it, so don't feel too bad. That's why I'm here, is to educate the masses while making poorly designed cities. Anyways, moving on. Next we got a little comment thread here from a Mr. Joshisha8719. I don't know if that's how I pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to. And he said he laughed at the title of my last episode. If you missed it, the title of that episode is "This Episode is Trash." And I literally built a trash system for the episode. I thought it was a great pun. If you don't laugh at that, I don't know what's wrong with you. Get a sense of humor. But thank you for laughing at it. And then we had a little bit of a back and forth, and he said he thinks my humor and the way I deliver one-liners and jokes are a huge strong point for my videos, and they certainly keep him entertained throughout. Well, that's good. My number one goal is to entertain, educate, and make this world a much better place. And I'm not actually intending to deliver these one-liners. That is just how I talk. And he says it feels effortless, and he subscribed because of it. Well, I appreciate the subscription. And yeah, I don't know if I'd say it's effortless. This is just literally how I interact and talk. I guess that is the definition of effortless. But I actually get in trouble for how I talk at work, because I sound super serious and monotone when I'm actually trying to joke with people. But it's also a superpower, because I can say things and people think I'm kidding when I'm really not. I get away with a lot of stuff because of how I talk. And he told me to embrace it, so I am embracing it. I'm now I'm going to start being myself a little bit more. The problem with me being myself is I'm a little inappropriate. I really tone it down and wash it out for these videos, because I know children watch these. And I know specifically one or two kids who watch my videos, and I know their parents wouldn't like them to model their speech after mine. It could get me in a lot of trouble. So I tone it down here, but I do plan on starting another channel. It won't be City Skylines themed. It's going to be more or less a sports related channel if I get around to doing it. And in that one, it's going to be kind of a no holds bar. It'll be Legio being himself at his prime. So if you want to hear my sense of humor with no filter, check that series out. I'll talk more about it later on. I'm not ready to start doing anything with it yet. Anyways, that is all the comments we have for today. That's basically all the time I've allotted for that anyways. So thank you guys again for the comments. I really appreciate it. And if you want your comment read, you had to use your brain, formulate words, put them into a sentence, then put them in the comment section and hit the post button. Because I promise I'll probably read them. Because I have nothing better to do with my life besides sit here and read the comments that people give me. Well, that's not true. I can go abuse my dog if I like, and kick my cat. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get back into this episode and pick up where we left off. And now I'm just putting the finishing touches on our train station here, the last bit of detail, polishing up that metaphorical turd. I've now made it a turd that you wouldn't just immediately flush, you'd actually sit there and admire it for a little bit. Okay, that was kind of weird and gross, but yeah, it is what it is. The part I liked most about this is that parking lot up at the top of your screen. You'll see me go back to it here in a minute. I modeled that after the Duluth train station parking lot. I'll put that up on your screen now and then you can compare the two. I think I did a pretty good job imitating that. So that turned out really good. I used the Road Builder mod to great effect on that one. And then I used the Surfaces tool to beat up the parking lot, so to speak. And just turned out great. It's a different kind of parking lot. It's an oddly shaped one, and in City Skylines, even in the first one, always struggled with the shape of parking lots. And if you're hearing a bunch of noise right now, that's my dog walking upstairs making all kinds of noise. She only wants to move around when I'm recording. That's just her way. She's extremely rude. And then this parking lot right here that you see on the screen, this came about because I didn't know what to do with this space right here. Putting any buildings there just didn't feel right, and when in doubt with an American city, just put a parking lot in it. So that's what I did. I guess theoretically this parking lot is for like the workers or the local community to use, and that parking lot out front is for those leaving their cars and going out of town, or like rental cars, you know, or people just parking in it to come into the city. I don't know. Use your imagination. And then I just extend this tile work right here because the concrete or the asphalt, whatever that was, it just didn't look right. It looked odd. So I extended the tile work and this looks much, much better. And right there, I'm putting a fence in that frustrated me to no end. That is that's one of the European residential fences, and it looks good, but the frustrating part about it is you don't get to pick the color. So you'll see me place those fences, and they're all different colors. So I had to place them until I got the color I wanted, and then I would use Move It to move everything into position. So a little frustrating on that part, and hopefully that's something we can fix later with like a paint it or repaint it mod. But for right now, it's what we're working with. And then I go back to this area one more time and put in this soil surface to really beat that area up and make it look more natural in there. A lot of vegetative stuff. Overall, love how that area turned out. And then to finish out the episode is me fixing a mistake I made. So at the beginning of the episode, you saw me destroy that interchange. And then when I was done building my train station, I was overlooking everything and realized my traffic was all messed up. And then I realized I didn't rebuild this interchange. So that was just me completely derping and being an idiot. So I had to go back and rebuild the interchange, and it turns out pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's a simple Y interchange. Traffic on it moves pretty good. And yeah, this was me fixing mistakes. Originally the episode was supposed to end with that train station, and then I realized the mistake I made of not replacing what needed to be there, and then also the rail yard wasn't connected to the road network, so I had no power, no water, no sewage, and I got no trains out of it. So I had to connect it to the road network, which you'll see here in a little bit. And it's the road network that I connected it with is very superficial. It will be worked on and replaced going forward, but this was kind of a get me over and get me through this episode. It wasn't the highlight, so I can live with that. And here I am connecting a bridge here in a second over the highway to get me to that rail yard. And then you'll see me tunnel through the hill here in a little bit. This was all me realizing I had a mistake that I made, and I wanted you guys to see me fix my mistake, I guess. But anyways, that's more or less the episode, guys. You'll see me detail this area out a little bit better in the coming episodes or two. And if you enjoyed the episode, you know what to do down below. If you didn't enjoy the episode, go ahead and do the stuff down below anyways, because you know you could choose to be a good person today and put a smile on my face. But yeah, guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good day.